Today I have my Egnater Boutikit versus my Fortin Sigil. These are two amps people don't normally compare. The reason I'm doing this, though, is that a lot of people who are on Chug Life and other high gain communities are pretty familiar with the Fortin Sigil, but may not be familiar with the E3, the E3 Audio Boutikit. This is actually an amp you build in a class, so you don't just order these. You take the you go to ampbuildingclass.com. It's for about $1,700 for the 50-watt model. You spend 2 days, 2 full days with Bruce Egnater, amp guru, and you build it yourself. And on the first day, do some soldering. The second day, he takes you through the schematic. And plenty of people in Bruce's online community are sharing more technical details, and there's some videos with some great playing in it with this amp, but none in the super high gain category. So I thought I was curious how the E3 would compare to a higher gain amp, so I'm making this video to compare them. So I got an 8-string with a Fortin Hexdrive pedal and a Zool, which are off camera. And I've got a Seymour Duncan Pegasus in this. This was made by my friend Craig for me. It's a nice custom-made guitar. I have a tone bone, so I can switch between the two. And the red is the E3, and the green is the Fortin Sigil. No spoiler, the Fortin has more gain, but I really what I like to do with these tube amps is use them as a platform. So I like to get a decent tube amp and not have the gain up all the way, and then I like to push it with a pedal. Even on the Sigil, you don't need a pedal for the Sigil, but what I like to do is use channel 1 of the Sigil with the gain knob pulled, and then still use a pedal. So I look at the tube amp as more of a platform to push with a pedal. Though I'm not getting distortion with the pedal, I'm just using the pedal as a clean boost. So on the Hexdrive, I have the drive turned way down and the level turned way up, and then I just adjust the tone. I'm just going to play some stuff for you. This is the red. When you see the red on the tone bone, that is the E3, and when you see it flip to green, that's the Sigil, channel 1, both with the same hex drive. So this is the E3. Flip it back to the Fortin. Pretty similar. Well, actually, no. They're both. You can see they're similar in that you can get a lot of gain out of either one of them if you dial them in correctly and use a pedal. But they very different frequency response. Here's back to the E3. Fortin. Egnater. the E3. Play some 8-string stuff. This is with the E3. To the Sigil. Back to the E3. So those are the two amps. Again, the Sigil, if you want to put it on channel 2, turn up the gain, turn off the Hexdrive, the Sigil has more gain. But, again, even with these high gain amps, I like to use a Fortin pedal like the Hexdrive to drive the amp and tighten up the tone before it gets in there. And in that case, I tend to dial back the gain, even on my high gain Fortin amp. And then you do that same thing to your Egnater, and it will keep up. I mean, I think I'm getting a comparative tone. They have a different frequency response. Like, so they both, I can get enough gain out of either one. They have different frequency responses. Actually, the Fortin has a frequency response that I'm liking more. But what's cool about the Egnater is, and from taking the class and spending 2 days with Bruce Egnater, is that I am... he kind of sends you out on your own such that you could modify the amp to get the frequency response you're after. So tone is frequency response, as it was defined. And here we've got some curves here. It's a bit hard to see, but the Marshall is on the top, and this amp uses this Egnater amp uses a Marshall circuit. But here you got the Vox and the Fender curve, and then he takes you through the schematic and shows you that if you swap out certain resistors and certain capacitors in certain spots, that you can change the tone of your amp. Now, this is really cool for me because, instead of just having these knobs to work with, I could literally change the circuitry of the amp. The amp is just a circuit, and being able to connect a schematic to tone is a completely new thing. It was magical to me, and now I have. Not that I fully understand that, but I have a much better insight. And now I'm going to reopen this amp, and I'm going to modify it. And I'll see how it sounds. This is like the first video. My plan is to modify this amp some to get it sounding, with a frequency response I like, which is closer to some of my Fortin amps, but also try and come up with something new that maybe could be my own sound. For $1,400, you can get a Fortin Sigil. It's a good amp. For $300 more, you can go to Detroit for 2 days and build this amp on your own with help from Bruce, and then learn how amps are made and the ideas behind them, so you will appreciate the amp a lot more, and then you can go and modify it. So they're very, very different things, apples to oranges. I'm not saying one's a better way to spend your money than another, but I really got a lot out of building my own amp. So I recommend this class. For me, it was like the next step in amp appreciation. So, and Bruce didn't ask me to make this. I'm just back from the class. I decided to make a comparison and document this for my own, so that later when I modify the amp, I can have an A/B comparison. So the way I shot this, going out of the tone bone, I'm just going into a 2 notes Captor X. I'm using the Mesa Boogie oversized 4x12 official IR response that 2 notes resells, then just into my Focusrite Scarlett, and then I'm just recording this on Reaper, in case you're curious. So, thanks a lot. Bye.